So I would like today to welcome Jolanda DeJong, who is a brilliant yoga instructor that I've worked with a little bit. If anyone has looked at the yoga video I've got as an offering for anyone clicking onto my website, then Jolanda is the instructor in that video, talking to us about yoga for the first chakra, or our foundation energy. And I wanted to talk to her today about movement, because I think she's got some great things to share with us about that. But first of all, Jolanda, could you just share with everybody, I guess the main focus is how you came to get into yoga and why you chose to do a qualification in that.
Okay, yeah. Well, hi, Alan, and thanks for inviting me. Yoga is an interesting thing. I came across yoga years and years ago. When I first came to Australia about 25 years ago, I was looking to connect with the new community, and through a community center, I did my very first yoga class in the community house, whatever it was called. And that wasn't for me straight away forever, but I liked it. And since then, I've gone back to it on and on and on. You know, holidays in Byron Bay, used to go to the Byron Bay Yoga Center and wanted to go back. Rob, my husband, would go surfing and I would do yoga. And slowly that whole connection with yoga started to grow. But it was very much from connection with the exercise. I liked to challenge myself. I liked to put my body into weird places, so to speak. I also always have been interested in dance. I used to do a lot of jazz ballet, and I felt that yoga had some sort of connection with dance and with fluidity. So that whole idea of doing more with yoga grew over a long period of time. And then when I lived in Melbourne, I got really fanatic, went to yoga 3 times a week, went to very strong classes. And then I got very, very bad back problems. I felt that I couldn't do yoga anymore because I had learned that yoga was, very intensive vinyasa flows, quite extreme poses, and I thought that was what I liked about yoga. However, I was hooked and I didn't want to let it go, and found a teacher here in Ocean Grove, where I am now, who uses yoga as yoga therapy. And my back was so bad that I couldn't sit, I couldn't walk, couldn't work in the garden anymore, couldn't do my normal life, had trouble at work sitting behind my desk. And working with my teacher, Jill Harris is her name, she helped me a lot. And I learned to slow down, and I learned a whole lot more about what yoga really is about. But that's the history as to why I came to do more with yoga. And so when I met Jill, I wanted to know more about yoga, and whether I wanted to be a yoga teacher, that wasn't a thing. I just wanted to know more about yoga, learned about the yoga philosophy, learned a lot about therapeutic yoga and about yoga for everybody. And since it's helped me so much in coping with physical challenges, but as well as with stress and mental challenges, I started really focusing my yoga on offering yoga for everybody. And so what I do in the yoga space is I teach all abilities yoga for people, with all abilities. So we have people that are agile, and we have people in wheelchairs, and walking with walkers, with people with mental health issues, and people who have just are a little bit challenged because they're getting older and the body is changing. And that group in itself has taught me so much about movement and about how movement can help you feeling good within yourself.
So it's really about that mental health aspect as well as the health of the physical body. That's what I think makes yoga so amazing. And you spoke about, so your story about your back. Can you tell us a bit more about how yoga therapy is different? What's the approach that's taken?
So yoga therapy really looks at the individual, and it really says yoga can be for everybody. Um, the lineage that I follow is Desikachar, and Desikachar is the son of Krishnamacharya. And Desikachar said, I think it was Desikachar, if you can breathe, you can do yoga. And that in itself I thought was interesting. And what you just said before, Aman, is very much true of yoga, but not just of yoga. I think it's of all movement and a lot of things that we do in life. Your mental health is, and your mental motivation is your number one steering as to what you feel you can and you can't do. If you don't have that motivation, there's a whole lot of things you can't do. And that's with movement as well. Whether you're a professional athlete or whether you just want to go out for a walk or whether you want to do yoga, if the motivation is not there and your mental capacity to set yourself over barriers that we all put in our own way, then it won't help. It won't work. So yoga helps definitely with all of those things.
Yeah, and it's an absolute cycle between, you know, the motivation and taking the action, but then if you don't take the action, then you lose your motivation. So yeah, really important. So do you feel that your own problems with your back were related to movements that you were or weren't doing at the time?
Look, it's hard to 100% pinpoint it down what happens. Like physically, some tests were done and it showed that I have 3 bulging discs in my back. So, of course, that causes a problem. But they weren't bad enough for operation, for example. Not that that's never recommended, but there had to be a way for me to manage it. And I think my lifestyle at that time was quite stressful. Many hours in the chair, working, focusing on what happens on the computer, lots of stress, and not enough time to release that stress. And in hindsight, I think that probably escalated things a lot. And you keep going doing what you know. You get into a pattern. The patterns that you create in your body by doing year in, year out the same thing that you think, oh, you know, this is what I do. I've done it so long, I can do this. And all of a sudden your body says, hang on a minute, you can't do this anymore. And then the skill is to listen to your body. And that's not easy, I think.
Do you think that yoga helps people to improve that skill of listening to their body?
You know, in yoga, we very often take time out where we move and we stop. And if you've ever done yoga, you may remember that the teacher may say, just stop and feel how your body feels, or stop after you've done the left side and feel whether the left side feels different from the right side. Or stop and breathe into the areas where you have tension. Now, I must say, when I first started yoga, I actually thought that was maybe a bit wanky. I mean, you know, what do you do with that? I just wanted to move and sweat and sitting still and actually connecting with your breath and sending your breath to parts of your body. You know what, Alan, that takes practice. Some people may do it straight up, but other people take years to learn how to do that. And with each time when you practice that, you'll find that there are milestones, I think, where you feel that, hey, actually, this is making a difference. I can now understand why I was told to do that.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question? I don't.
Yeah.
Did I go off on a rant?
No, it does. And yeah, I just wanted to mention too what you said before about sitting behind a desk. So really, there's lots of science behind that now that, basically our bodies are not designed to sit. There's even the saying that sitting is the new smoking. We're basically designed to move, and when people do exactly like what you said, that you were under so much pressure and stress at work that you effectively feel like you can't move because you've got so much to do and you're not moving, and eventually your body's going to make you do something different. So ideally we want to be preventing that from getting to that stage.
Hey, Alan, can I throw something in there too? Because, with the COVID-19 and the fact that we're in isolation at the moment, we also realize a lot of people are working from home. And like myself, sitting at the dining table, not ergonomically set up at all. So I actually went back to the office last week and got my office chair, which makes a big difference in the way I sit. But if you are working from home, it's really important that you get up very, very often, because your shoulders and your back, your neck, you're gonna feel it. And if you still have a young body, you may not feel it immediately, but it is the start of starting to build those patterns that you actually don't want to find yourself down the track that you have created injury. Get up often. Yeah. And it doesn't really matter. I mean, of course, I talk about yoga, but having movement in your body is important, and stretching into those areas that you feel have tensed up is really important. Yeah.
Yeah, and even your eyes as well. It's really bad for our eyes to be looking at these, relatively short distances for hours and hours on end. You really need to move the positioning of your eyes, look into the distance for a little while as well. Absolutely. And that's a really good point, that everybody needs to bring into their own current home office of, making sure you're set up as best as you possibly can be. So can you, I didn't actually let you know I was going to ask you this, but can you talk a little bit about the other, I think they call them the arms of yoga, other than the asana, the poses, which everybody tends to think, well, that is yoga. And exactly like you were saying about yourself, when you first started doing it, you're just treating it like exercise. It's just about the movement. But what else can yoga teach us? What are the other branches?
So we talk about the 8 limbs of yoga.
Limb.
And you didn't tell me that you were going to ask this question. So it's the yamas, niyamas. Then we have asana, which is the practice on the mat. Then pranayama, pratyahara. I think then it's dhyana, dharana, and then samadhi. Now, the first 4, yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, these are practices that we can do and train ourselves in. Niyama and yamas are about the way we live, the way we connect with ourselves, and the way we connect with our environment, and the impact we have on ourselves and on the environment, the decisions that we make, how we listen to ourselves and others around us, how we connect with our environment. So they really are all about your lifestyle and living a lifestyle that doesn't harm. There's the yamas and niyamas have little subheadings, and one of them is ahimsa, do no harm. And I love that one, because the realization of the impact that you have on your environment or on your people, on the people around you, or even on yourself, reflection on that makes a big difference as to the decisions that you make. So if anybody is interested in knowing a little bit more about yoga, I think the yamas and niyamas are a very interesting area to study, just to reflect on lifestyle and the impact that we have. Now then there is asana, and asana is the movement on the mat. It's the exercise part, but the asana very much connects us with our breath. and our minds. So through movement, we connect with our breath, and we connect and find stillness in our mind. Now, stillness and unity in our mind is the ultimate goal of yoga. So that's samadhi. Samadhi, well, it's probably those last four limbs, really, where we are starting to get into a meditation and a total concentration without distraction. And those four phases that I mentioned, they take a lot of practice. And it basically starts with pranayama. So that's the fourth limb. Pranayama, they are the breathing exercises. But breathing while we're connecting and focusing on a point and learning to not be distracted by things. And so, yeah, if you start to learn about those 8 limbs, you will realize that it's to do with practice, understanding what they are, and practice them all. And slowly but surely you'll find that you find a way of connecting with those 8 limbs and creating some stillness and reflection in your life. Yeah. That's it in a real nutshell, Alan.
Yeah, and it sounds like a great lockdown activity for everybody. Yes. Can you take us through what you do on a daily or weekly, whatever's easier for you to talk about, basis as far as movement and also, but also those other things? You know, I don't know whether you have a pranayama practice that you do or meditation that you would regularly do. Can you tell us what your regular week looks like?
Yeah, sure. Look, I'm a person who throws up barriers and I tell myself that I don't have time to do certain things. But for me, it's enormously important that I build routine, because if I don't build the routine, I will definitely find an excuse not to do something, not to do yoga in my case. So my daily routine is... the dog is number one. I've got a little puppy who's 5 months old. So walking the dog is my very first thing I do in the morning. And if I can and I have the time, I walk for about an hour. And then if I can, I still build in some yoga. And if I don't do it first thing in the morning, I often say, I'll do it later today. And it doesn't happen. So that's what I mean. I really need to build in that routine. And for me, the best way to work with my yoga and pranayama is to have a short routine of about 15 minutes where I move first, prepare the body for stillness. So get tension out of the body and also prepare the body, warm the body up to be able to sit still. Because to actually sit still and not be distracted by things that happen around you or within yourself, you need to prepare your body. And then I'll sit and do breathing exercise, and often that's only a few minutes. And to me, that's what works for me. Now, there's a lot of people who love meditation, and they have a meditation practice, and that's fantastic. I have a very busy mind, and I get very busy when I do meditation. So for me, it works much better to move and breathe. And that is my meditation. I find it really difficult to sit still for a very long time.
And you could even say that yoga is a moving meditation. I mean, it's certainly very mindful. You are completely focused on what your body and your breath is doing in the asana practice. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I apply it on the beach too. When I walk on the beach and I'm there with my dog, I apply that consciousness of where I am, a meditation while you're in nature, enjoying and stopping and listening to the waves, or when I'm in a bush environment, to enjoy the smells and look at the beautiful trees. We all do that naturally, but we often forget also. And I find since I've learned to stop and enjoy, I take that awareness with me much more. when I go away from, the place where I sit still, for example. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Bringing all your senses in is a beautiful way to do a meditation as well. I'd love to find out from you as well if you have any thoughts on how you know when you're not moving your body enough, for you personally, or also what you might notice when you're teaching a yoga class, if you can tell when, this is the only movement that somebody's done for the week. How do you think people can tune in and listen to their bodies and know when they need to move a bit more?
I suppose on a personal note, I find when I don't move enough, I become sluggish, and it's really easy actually not to start. It's all to do with that motivation that we started the conversation with. I become less motivated to move, and I become comfortable in the uncomfortable state of not moving. And that's weird, isn't it? And in your head you go, I need to move, and you just can't do it. And when you do move, you feel so much better. And it's just a reality. You do feel better, and it's much easier to move again. So it's just getting out of that rut. And you do get into it, the weather is not nice, you can't go outside. Well, I should do some movement inside. Yeah, but the fire going, glass of wine, we're cooking, no time. And it's all there, all those excuses and barriers. So how do I know? I suppose I just know because I feel sluggish, and I start to lose energy. And I also start to crave much more sweet, sugary food, and glasses of wine, and comfort food, and those sort of things. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's great, because that leads me, I was just going to say, have you noticed a difference? Have you picked up any patterns on, the relationship between food and movement for you personally? So you've just said, well, when you're not, it's like this again, this whole negative vicious cycle of wanting the things that aren't going to be so great for you, and in fact deplete your energy when you're not moving your body. Is there any other comments that you'd make on that relationship between food and movement?
I think it's important, if you do move, that you time it properly, that you don't eat too much before you move, and because it feels much nicer to move without food in your stomach than to have a full stomach. The other thing is lots of water. I think it's really important to drink a lot of water and keep hydrated. It helps with movement. It really does. And I feel when I haven't had enough fresh fruit or vegetables, I feel that in my body. And I do then consciously start to crave fruit and vegetables. Look, our society gives us a lot of messages that make us want to have comfort food. And it's really hard to disregard that and to listen to your, is it really hard? But it's important to disregard those messages and listen to your body. Yeah. And to get the fresh fruit, vegetables, water. And if you want to do your exercise, to time it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really true. And in one of the other interviews that I've done about movement, Camilla spoke about fasting in terms of, she does like the 16 hours of fasting and 8 hours of eating, kind of 4 or 5 days a week. And I tend to do that myself as well. It would be very rare that I will eat before I do movement. But then that's also when I can do the movement I want to do first thing in the day. Obviously, also trying to move during the day as well. But the other thing from what you said about water, absolutely. So I've been doing, and again, Camilla spoke about this a bit as well, about fascia. The connective tissue that is all throughout our body, surrounds all our muscles, surrounds everything in the body, and is actually 75% water. So if we don't drink enough water, that fascia becomes stiff and brittle, and that's when, you know, we literally feel it in our bodies. We feel that our muscles and joints are all stiff and unable to move. So drinking water is so important, and I especially find getting into the cooler weather, you don't feel like drinking just, you know, water, cold water. So I always try and then, you know, have more herbal tea. So you're having something warm, or just warm water with lemon or whatever it is. But yeah, absolutely, water, so important.
Yeah, and I was actually going to say that, you know, we tend to have a habit of having water and having cold water. And sometimes we have cold water with our meal, for example. But I just wanted to say on that that's not that good for your digestive system.
Mm-hmm.
So cold drinks are not that great. And a nice herbal tea is much better than a cold glass of water in many ways. And you probably know that yoga and Ayurveda are very linked. And in the Ayurveda practice, it is definitely recommended that either, you know, a warmer glass of water or a herbal tea is much better to have with your meal than a cold glass of water, because it actually counteracts your digestive activation.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it kind of, you know, when you think about digestion, it's a stimulating, it's creating heat in your body, it's creating energy in your body from the food that you're eating. So if you think about it in that way, it's totally logical that why on earth would you pour something cold on that heat? So yeah, that's a really good point. And I just also think it just, you know, we want to try and live more with the seasons, and it just doesn't feel natural to be bringing cold things into our bodies when it's cold outside. We want to warm our bodies. I just wanted to ask you as well if you've noticed a difference with yourself with sleep, with the relationship between movement and sleep.
I have some hormonal issues at the moment, and sleep is actually a problem for me. And I have to say, the more I experiment, I actually personally feel that food and sleep has a bigger impact on me than movement and sleep. However, the theory is that a very gentle, relaxing yoga practice before you go to bed is really good. And I don't do it often. The times that I do feel much more relaxed going to bed. And, you know, having all those practices, those good practices about bedroom health, they are really important. Take your screens out of the bedroom, have some quiet time before you go to bed. The food that you have in the lead up to going to bed makes a big difference. And yeah, definitely, there is movement that you can do as a preparation for going to bed. You know, but having said that, in general, I think even if you've moved during the day and have had a workout of, you know, one way or another, it helps your sleeping patterns. Yeah. But from experience, I'm struggling a little bit with that. I'm still finding the right way for myself, to be honest.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay, so I think they're the main things that I wanted to cover, but is there anything else that you wanted to say about movement, and also if you want to let people know how they can get in touch with you? Now, obviously the yoga classes, I assume, you're not doing the all abilities ones online. That would probably be a bit difficult, but I know there are plenty of yoga studios out there that are doing online yoga classes, including Keo in Ocean Grove, which is a brilliant yoga studio. But just if people want to learn more about the all abilities yoga when that's happening again, if you let everyone know where they can find out about that.
So, well, the All Abilities Yoga takes place in Geelong, in Eastern Hub, and that's on Thursday mornings at 10:30. So once we're able to get out again and be together in a group, that will start up again. I have on my list of things to do to film a short practice that I just would like to put together for my students who want to keep connecting with movement and breath. It's just a 15-minute practice, and I haven't recorded it yet, but once it's done, I'm happy to share it with you. If you want to share it with your people, that's fine. There's a lot of online yoga, and there's a lot of good online yoga, but rather than shopping around, find something that suits you, that you feel good with, and then stick with it, because you can spend a lot of time looking at your computer trying to find out what's best for you and never actually do it. And that's the problem. The other thing I just wanted to share, Aaron, is that we shouldn't be too hard on ourselves. We need to move, but don't punish yourself if you don't move. It is okay to start again tomorrow. And tomorrow will come today. And we move a lot as it is, as human beings. You know, we work in the garden, we go to do our grocery shopping, we walk the dog. As long as we're aware that when we're sitting down too long, that we get up and have some movement, that we find opportunities to take stairs rather than a lift and those type of things, you'll find that there's a fair bit of movement in your life as it is. And if you can bulk that up, then you're on the right track, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that they're great, beautiful tips for everybody. And I suppose that's the thing that we need to be most aware of at the moment with the COVID-19 lockdown, is that a lot of that incidental movement is diminished. Maybe, more for some people than others, obviously, but for those of us who have suddenly moved to working at home, or doing school at home, then there's just so much less, walking to and fro from different places than what we would have in our normal lives. So really important to make sure that you, as Jolanda said, taking stairs when you can, walking to the shops to get those groceries that you might in your old life have driven. That's what I did a bit last week. I kind of broke my shopping down into carryable chunks so that I had that reason to walk to the shops a few days in a row. My kids were just like, "What, are you going again?" But it gave a purpose to that walk. So great.
And what Rob and I do when we walk the dog and when we're in the park and there's a park bench, we do a couple of what do you call them? I don't know the word.
Like push-ups on the bench or something, do you mean?
Push-ups, but also with our legs. Sit down, get up, sit down, get up. Crunches. No, what do you call them? Anyway, it doesn't matter.
I don't know. It sounds
lunches or whatever. Yeah. Just have fun with it. If you have a family, have fun with it. Everybody on the bench. This is what we're doing next, and play. Play and be a bit crazy. Do some crazy things that you normally don't do. Just do them. Get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, absolutely. Beautiful. Well, I would really like to thank you so much for taking time out of your day to chat to me today and tell us a bit more about yoga and movement in your life. Really appreciate it. So as Jolanda mentioned, her All Abilities Yoga is at Geelong Eastern Hub, and you can access a few yoga videos that Jolanda has done for me. So if you're interested, there's one that you can access through my website already, and then I've got a few others. So if you're interested in any of them, then please get in touch and let me know. And we'll look forward to doing some more. We've got to do some more for me as well.
Yeah, definitely.
when we
It
can.
will happen.